this is a new series I'm doing where this is a testing local recording where I'm probably gonna do a stream for these where I'm going to be doing some talks with viewers about where they feel stuck in improvement and seeing how I've plateaued multiple times in my time in melee, and I understand that sometimes it's really frustrating being stuck in melee, and I do believe that I can offer some inputs on how to go from there. So why don't you introduce yourself? Why don't you say what you feel like you're stuck in, what you feel you could do better at, your frustrations in melee, whatever. Go on ahead.
All right. Well, I'm Leo. I'm a Marth from Champaign. Um, the main thing that I would say I'm stuck in, so I always feel like I'm improving at least a little bit in Melee, which is a good thing. But sometimes I get stuck in feeling like I'm not improving as fast as I should be, especially considering that like a lot of people view the game as being about improving faster than everyone around you. And so some when I feel like there's more I could be doing, I kind of just start to like give up and get stuck. Um, and so I have trouble developing like a routine that will keep me consistent no matter how I'm feeling about my improvement, which is kind of why I want to talk to you about this, I guess.
Okay. What are your goals?
Like my main goals in the game, I guess just I mean, as long as I just like the feeling of like noticing that my work like with the game pays off. So just I don't really have an end goal necessarily, but just to keep getting better, and to see myself improve.
So you just want to get better for the sake of getting better?
Well, that's like my main goal, I guess. But I mean, obviously, I have like smaller things like, getting PR in Chicago or getting top 100 or beating certain people. But those are definitely like more steps along the way.
Right. Um,
So I feel like it's easy to let yourself down when you set like concrete goals, like I want to get PR by the end of the year, or like, I want to beat this person next time I play them or something.
oh yeah. It's a little dangerous to do that as your main source of motivator.
Yeah, but
However,
I
I do
do, I
not
do,
think it's necessarily bad to have it as like a secondary goal.
yeah, I definitely have that as secondary stuff, but it's not my main motivator.
So the reason why I asked this is because uh, there's very you, if you want to get better to be say the best in the world, like obviously a lot of things needs to change. But if you just want to
Yeah,
be top 100 or you want to be like top of your regional PR, then it's vastly different. You know.
yeah, I would say my realistic goal is probably like top 100 or like top 50. Well, I'm not necessarily trying to, I don't need to be the next Zane to be like satisfied
Right.
with how well I'm doing.
Right. Yeah, and I do think that's a totally attainable goal to set up. Um, and while we are on this subject, why don't we talk about your routine? What even why can you describe what it looks like when it feels like you're improving slow?
Generally, when I'm improving, I have something new to work on, and I'm slowly getting better at it. So, like, as a specific example, this past week, um, I was struggling with covering um, Stacy's perfect side beat a ledge. So I kind of labbed it out a little bit and talked to some people and discovered that like drop off the ledge fair or run off fair
Mm-hmm.
and fast fall is like a good way to cover it. So this week I've been like mainly focusing on that when I play Spacies and have like noticed myself hitting it more. And that feels really good. I like doing stuff like that. Or like another example would be winning more situations in neutral. So I was playing with Zamu earlier and he told me that I should probably start doing more aerials in place as opposed to fade in. And so like when I'm working on neutral, that's something I think about more. Generally, that's what I notice when I feel like I'm getting better. Uh, but when I feel like I'm plateauing, it's more of like I'll play people and I don't know what's going on, and I'll do VOD analysis and I can't figure out what's wrong, and everything becomes very vague, and I just get frustrated and think like, why are these people beating me? And um, especially when I lose to people that I would like used to beat, that's like the most frustrating thing ever. Like if there's someone that I like 3-0'd last week that beats me the next week, I get like really mad and start to like want to give up a lot of the time, especially if I don't have something I'm working on at the moment.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to like be able to develop a routine that isn't as dependent on always having something new, I guess, or just like making myself more okay with like consistent, steady improvement rather than having something new every week that I just get really good at.
Okay. Well, I'll keep that all in mind. I'm gonna go back to like the goal stuff. Like, why do you care?
Well, obviously, I mean, I love this. Melee is my favorite game. I love it, and like I want to get further and further in bracket. Like it's more fun that way. Losing obviously sucks. No one likes losing. If they did, no one would play.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I just want to feel like I'm getting better, and it's almost a source of like feeling productive for me. Um, Even when I am like struggling doing other things in my life, or if I'm like in the summer and there's no school, like during COVID, I couldn't get a job or anything.
Yeah.
So all I really had was Melee. And so that was like my source of like, self improvement and feeling productive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big reason why I care. And also just, I've had a lot of hobbies, and things that I do, but I've never, like, I know a little about a lot of things, but I don't really feel like there's like one thing that I'm super good at. And I'm trying to make Melee into that thing.
Would it be fair to
Um,
say that you feel like melee is also your source of worth?
I wouldn't go that far because quick story. I used to play Magic the Gathering, and I was like a grinder. I would just grind tournaments, and I did well, like at a few like nationals. But other than that, I played the game so much that I started to attach my sense of like self worth to it, and when I lost, it felt horrible, and I
Right.
would just compare myself to other people constantly. And a lot of those people were cheating, and so there wasn't anything I could do about it. And I was just like, "Fuck this," and I just quit the game. Uh, but with Melee, it's more of um, I'm focusing more on myself and less on other people. And so when I lose in Melee, I usually try to think, well, I'm going to be better than them soon anyways, because I'm probably like if I'm working harder than them, then it'll pay off. But when I get frustrated, but I don't get that sense of like depression after I do bad at a tournament. So I wouldn't say I like attach my self worth to it in a bad way.
Yeah.
Um,
It sounds like your relationship to melee is like you obviously care about it, but
hmm
it's not everything. Everything.
Yeah,
It just only sounds like a minor sense of worth, which is like pretty normal for anybody
yeah,
obsessed getting better at the game. Like you're gonna have a little bit of like your worth into the game.
yeah.
It's just
I
a little
definitely
unhealthy
do.
that it's like your entire worth.
Like I feel good about myself when I win, and I feel bad about myself when I lose. But
Yeah, yeah,
it's
that's
not to the point where it's unhealthy.
yeah, totally normal. I want to know a little bit about that. Um, okay, those are good to know. Going back to the sense of when you have new stuff to work on versus when you plateau. Plateau, by definition, is whatever you're doing is your results aren't speaking for yourselves. It means that you are just at the same level as you were like a few months ago, right?
hmm
And you kind of just said it yourself why you're plateauing. Like, you don't know what you're doing in VOD analysis compared to when you have new stuff to work on, and it actually works. By definition, you've improved.
Yeah, and I think another thing, so like a leap that I've made in improvement over the past year or so is that I used to determine my progress with the game solely on tournament results. Um, but and so I would feel like I was plateauing even when I wasn't. But I have to just remember that, like, especially during COVID, when I'm not entering tournaments very frequently, nerves play a big part of it. And I have to kind of take the little victories, like maybe I won neutral more times than usual, or took more stocks, or just, I don't know, did like accomplish something small, like the runoff fair thing.
I'd like to
Um,
point out though that if you want to be top 100, a
yeah,
requirement to be top 100 is dealing with your
yeah,
nerves.
but I'm saying it's not like I should expect to beat an extra person every week or month or whatever in bracket. Like, I understand that, like, I get out what I put in,
Yeah,
especially because I haven't been entering as much. But when I enter more tournaments, I might start to kind of fall back into that. And it's not as much about how far I make it, like whether I go like 4-2 or whatever, but how well I am able to play. Like, if I get outplayed by someone who I know has like worked on the matchup more than me or whatever, it motivates me to improve rather than getting frustrated. But if I lose due to my own, like, if I feel like I played bad or I don't implement what I was working on, that's when I get like upset and frustrated and feel like I'm plateauing.
can you repeat that last part again?
When I don't implement the things that I worked on, like when I don't apply the improvements that I've been making into my tournament play, that's when I feel like I'm plateauing.
Mm. So when you don't implement.
Yeah. And a lot of the time it's just nerves, or because I'm not just focused. I like, when most of the time in improvement, it's me working on punish game, and so I'm just focusing on myself. Um, but in tournament, when I have to kind of, it becomes more of a two-player game, and that's when it gets kind of hard for me to continue doing the things that I've like been doing with solo practice, or on unranked against bad people or whatever.
I see. So where do you why how do you get to the part where you know you have new stuff to work on and then the patterns that you fall to when you plateau?
Um, I guess it's like, I guess it is sometimes with tournament result. I mean, it's hard to say because in the past, like 6 months, I haven't really been entering much because of school. But I'll play like friendly sets with people, and it's not about the amount of games or stocks I take or whatever. But if I just find myself unable to do the thing, like if I practice, let's say, chain grabbing or something, or yeah, like if I practice chain grabbing and then I play a set versus Zamu and he gets out of my chain grab every time, I'll feel like almost that all the practice I did, whether or not it's nerves or like net play lagging or whatever, I will just immediately like blame myself and be like, I don't work hard enough at this game. So, like, and if all that practice is going to amount to nothing, I might as well just not practice at all. And I just like, I don't know. That's like the unhealthy part of my mentality with the game, probably.
So you criticize yourself.
Well, I criticize myself, and also just like feel like I think I look at the wrong things. Like, instead of thinking what did I do differently in that set versus in friendlies, I just think, oh well, now that I'm playing against someone who's actually good, I'm never going to be able to beat him because my punish game is just worse when I play good people or something. I just like start to kind of think illogically. Um, and so I leave sets a lot of time instead of thinking about like what they did, like, or what I could have done better. I just think, why didn't I do the things that I've been working on, like, and I just get mad at myself instead of actually like critically thinking about my loss.
Yeah, I mean,
And I don't know how
I
to
think
like shift.
that's very um, a very common story that most
Yeah,
melee players experience. They especially after a post loss, they just get mad and they can't think.
Mhm.
When obviously, logically speaking, you know that's not the way to do it, right?
Yeah,
And you feel like
but
this is like a big source of why you plateau, or
I think it probably is because I feel like I'm improving until and then I set expectations for myself for my for like how well I'm going to implement those things, and when it doesn't go as planned, I just think, well, I'm just bad. Like I just won't ever be good because I can't do like a simple thing that I've been working on for so long, and I just beat myself up over it instead of thinking about like what situations I like what they did to like
let
if
me
I'm working on a specific punish, if they get out of it, I'm not thinking about how to beat what they were doing. I just think like, oh, I'm just an idiot.
yeah. Are you also having these thoughts like mid set? Like you are thinking of this after you just drop the chain grab. Like do you get
For
mad when you drop?
definitely, yeah.
Yes. Okay. That's also important to know. So you also like not just post set, but also during.
That's like part of the thing. I have trouble like even in practice like games, I have trouble implementing things quickly because I have to kind of clear my head. Like I have an issue where this is a habit I gained from playing unranked, where I pummel too many times. Every time I like, if I grab a fox at 0, I'll pummel once, and they never mash. And then when I play Shabo, he mashes like out of every grab, and I have trouble dropping that habit because it's so like deeply ingrained, and I just get mad every time he mashes out of a grab. And I like instead of thinking about the next like don't do it next time, I think why did I do it that time?
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, this is a very common mindset that holds a lot of people back. It also held me back for a while. Um, and after taking steps to overcome that pattern of thinking, like it helped me think more rationally and clutch out sets that I wouldn't have otherwise done. Especially, this is a very useful tool to have during the era of net play where there's a lot of unknown variables that could get in the way, but you gotta deal with it. I mean, if the top two players in the world could handle all those variables and they're far and above better than other people, then I can too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's important to just like taking this another step forward logically. One dropped interaction, like say like some of those interactions are like theoretically out of control, like it's just not your fault at all. Melee is a deep enough game where one dropped interaction does not determine the entire course of the game. You decide the entire course of the game. That's like part of the
Yeah.
beauty of Melee is that like it's all up to you. It is very rarely, you don't have to rely on teammates to bail you out. There's not too much RNG where it's like too much out of control. Um, people love citing like the one time Randall screwed him over, the one time Fountain screwed him over, the one time there's that net play spike.
Yeah, but it's like
No,
if you weren't down.
it's like yeah,
Yeah.
that might be the reason why you dropped that one interaction. But what about the other three stocks, huh? Like, you're just gonna
Mm-hmm.
ignore all the mistakes that you've made the other three stocks? That's not the main reason why you lost. The main reason why you lost is because that one interaction changed the course. It's like, a ripple effect. And the way to avoid that ripple effect is what you do after. Is like how you try to stem it. Like how you try to stop the bleed, I guess.
Yeah.
It's ultimately up to how we interpret it. Now, I talked about the logical side of, and you already knew like why it's so unproductive to think that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we also discussed why you got mad. You got mad because you're unable to implement what you practice. It feels useless, right? Hello.
Hello?
Oh yeah,
So,
like
sorry,
you
I think
get
it cut.
mad because what you feel like you've implemented, what you feel like you've practiced, it just feels useless, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty
So,
much.
first off, it's totally possible that even though what you practiced and implemented, like it's just totally possible that they just know something that you don't, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like they like such as like for the chain grabs, they could be doing like a very tricky slight DI or something, and or
Yeah.
you didn't account for some other variables. Like that's totally possible. Like it's totally possible that your practice isn't like good enough.
Hmm.
First off, but then we get to the part where like they mash the pummel, and you get mad because like you very clearly know the simplest solution to that. It's just instantly throw, and you're not doing that, and then you find yourself not doing something simple, and you get mad. Have you ever realized that it's okay to mess up simple things?
I guess, yeah, but the issue is, it's like you said, like uh it's not the one simple thing that you mess up that loses you the game. Like for me, it's that I'll mess up that simple thing and then get mad about it and then fall back into old habits. Like I'll just start spamming F smash, or
Right.
like not literally spamming it,
Right.
but just yeah.
Yeah, but I'm talking emotionally speaking. When you find yourself getting angry, like you're criticizing yourself, would you say that to another person? Like, say me, for instance. Maybe not
I
me.
guess not.
Maybe like to a close friend of yours. Like, would you say the same thing? Like, would you like
No.
bring him down? Be like, dude, you suck. How could you do that? And like,
I
because that's what you're
definitely
doing to
wouldn't.
yourself.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to mess up. Like, we're only human.
Mhm.
It's like a very human nature to like mess up some things every once in a while. And you're learning. When you learn, you naturally get a little bit worse, so then you could get better overall.
Yeah, that I think that's like a big thing that I struggle with, is getting worse to get better. Um, because I have this thing, I like, maybe it's just like, I don't know what it is about me, but I like automatically expect like immediate payoff, and when I don't get it, I get like frustrated with myself instead of like understanding that things take time.
Yeah, I mean, Melee is not an RPG game. It's not a game where you grind and you level up. That's not how Melee works, unfortunately. That's how video game works. That's how we've been conditioned to think, but that's not how Melee works. That's not how real life works a lot of time. It's more of a
Hmm.
instead of like a linear upward graph, it's more, I wish it was this, where like you just get better and better, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
It's more like this. It's like a sine wave upwards. That's more
Hmm.
like it, where like because like that's just how the brain works. You can't always expect. You
Yeah.
will sometimes get better, and then sometimes you'll just get a little worse, and that's why this is why you had such an unhealthy relationship with Magic the Gathering. Is because like you expected a linear improvement, and then having so much self worth attached to it, when you inevitably went to like downward spiral part of it, it kind of like destroyed your relationship. Not to mention the cheating as well. That probably didn't help. But like also
Yeah.
just like a natural part of it is that like you won't always go up,
Hmm.
and uh, that's why setting concrete goals is so dangerous. So this is like the reality of like how improvement works,
Yeah.
and this is hard. Like I hope you realize that this is not an easy confrontation to deal with. Like it's nobody, not even me. Nobody likes feeling like they got worse. I know, logically speaking, that improving is an upwards sine wave, but hell, I really don't like the downwards part of it.
Yeah.
You realize that? Like, nobody's immune to that. Like, it's not like the solution here is to shut down your feelings or whatever. What do you think of all
Yeah.
this so far?
I think it's pretty good advice. I mean, I think the thing about what I say that to other people is pretty good. I think just being able to ground myself in those moments where I start to get frustrated and just realize that I'm only going to get worse. Like I'm dropping a train grab isn't an indication that I'm getting worse. but continuing to dwell on it is what's going to make it so I don't improve as fast. I think if I think that in those moments and like just kind of like breathe, I think
Yeah.
that'll definitely help me.
Yeah, I think
Um,
taking a deep breath is like one technique.
yeah, I know Leffen does that between every stock, like no matter who he's playing against.
Yeah, taking a deep breath helps clear your mind and helps you stay in the present moment. It helps
Hmm.
alleviate overthinking. What I think also helps a lot is thinking why. Why do you play this game?
Hmm. I guess that's like a pretty big thing to like think about mid game, but
That's also why I asked you beginning of this, like why do you care?
yeah, I mean, it's a variety of reasons, but I guess the main thing is like to like prove to myself that I'm able to get good at something. Um, so I guess thinking that is like a good way to kind of lead myself into the like you're not going to get better by being upset, and you wouldn't say that to other people.
Is it possible to reframe? Because the problem with that motivation is that it's very outcome oriented. Do you do you notice
Yeah,
that? And
yeah,
when you are pressuring yourself to achieve that outcome and it doesn't work, that's gonna leave you even like that's just leaves you in a world of hurt.
yeah, I guess.
I used to think that way. I used to think like I'm doing this to prove myself that I'm somebody, and I
Well, I
found
don't
that
know if I would go that far
that
with it,
wasn't
but
a
yeah,
sustainable source of. Yeah, maybe I'm the example is a little too extreme, but it's still similar.
yeah.
And I found that a better source of motivation for me was appreciating the challenge that is presented to me.
Hmm.
A challenge for me to potentially overcome. And if I don't overcome it, then I learn from it.
Hmm. That's a very like positive way to think about it.
I'd say it's a more process oriented way of thinking about it
Yeah,
because it's not related to the outcome.
because if you fail to overcome it, you learn any like that's how you learn, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be, you know, it doesn't have to mirror whatever I just said, but as long as it's process oriented, I think it's a more healthy source of motivation.
Hmm.
What do you think of that?
I think that's really good advice. I think like framing your mindset around because I know that results oriented thinking is bad, but I never thought about it in terms of process oriented thinking. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah, I
that's
mean, result oriented thinking is not necessarily bad. It
well,
could
it's
be
not
good at the
great.
short term, but it's I don't think
Yeah.
it could always be your source of outcome, like always your source of motivation, because like it always fizzles out. When you even if you are improving, the downwards part of your improvement will hurt a lot to the point where you feel like you may not even continue.
Hmm.
And it would be even damning that like if you just never improve, like you just quit.
Yeah. I think something important to remember for myself is just like that I don't tell myself this often enough that it's hard to actually get worse. Like you cannot get better. Like if I take a melee break, I'm not going to be getting worse every day. I'm just not necessarily going to be getting better.
It
And
depends on
if I
how
come
long of a
back,
break that you take, but generally speaking, yes. And
yeah,
also
like if I
taking
if I don't play for a couple days, then it's not gonna like make me
right.
worse at the game.
And also, if you've been practicing a lot from, you know, if you've been practicing daily or something, and then take like a few days of break, it can actually help you improve because like your brain is like processing things from all the like practicing that you've done. I just don't
Hmm.
recommend like you take a break like every week, I guess.
Yeah,
But once in a while, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I try to play for like I usually play for at least an hour a day most of the time too. But like there's usually one day a week where I'll only play for like 30 minutes to an hour and I'll just do focused practice because I have a lot of work
Hmm.
like for school or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I
Um,
think an hour a day is like an attainable habit to get top 100 one day.
really.
Yeah, and then it's only up to you that if you want to put in more time, you will make the process be faster. But like, I think an hour of focused practice every day, if you follow the efficient techniques of getting better,
Yeah, I mean
is
that
like
this is as long
totally
as it's
attainable.
productive.
Yeah.
Like something that one of my friends told me um that has been that has kind of stuck in my mind is that Fiction told him that there's never a moment where he's just playing melee. He's always like he's always focused. He's always working on something or thinking about how to get like better from it. And like I think that mindset has made my time with the game a lot more productive because like I used to be like, well, I'm playing an hour a day, so why am I not getting better? But like half of that time was just me like playing Falcon or Puff or something on unranked and just listening to music and not thinking.
Yeah,
Um,
that
and so of
qualifies
course I
under.
wasn't going to be getting
Yeah,
better.
that's unfocused practice, if not the general
But
friendlies.
yeah, but I try to pretty much exclusively play Marth and work on what like I'll pick something to work on and I'll just try to work on that. Or I'll like if I'm playing somebody, or I'll just do solo practice and try to work on something. Or if I have nothing to work on, I do VOD analysis. That's like what my routine pretty much is now. And I think that it's helping me. But the main like I said in the beginning, the reason I came here was because it's easy to fall out of that routine when I don't see progress from it. But I think I'm
Because
gonna
it's
leave.
outcome
I
oriented.
think I'm gonna leave this with a better mindset on that. Yeah.
Yeah, because if your mindset is so focused on the result, and when inevitably it doesn't come that way, you're gonna feel very discouraged. You're gonna feel like your work doesn't matter. But when it's more process oriented of a mindset, then you're gonna feel, despite whatever result you get, you're gonna come back. You're gonna get back up. You're like, what's next to work on? Why did this not work? What's up?
Hmm.
So what do you think is a more healthier way that motivates you to appreciate what melee is?
Like a way of thinking about like my improvement.
Yeah. How do you make
Um,
it process oriented?
make it process oriented by thinking, well, I'm gonna go into this and like let's say I go into a tournament set after practicing like that runoff fair thing I keep talking about, and I miss it a bunch of times. Uh, instead of getting mad at myself for missing such a simple thing, I should be like, if I do it, that's great. But if I miss it, then I should go back and watch it and like think about what I was thinking in that moment and why I missed it, and then I learned from
How should you feel?
it. So that's like hard to say, I guess, but um, not mad at myself
Because
for
you're
missing it.
you're talking about this very logically. This
Yeah,
is not a logical problem. You knew this from the start.
yeah, it's not a logical problem, but if I can, and I can't just make my like frustration go away, but I think I need to, instead of dwelling on my mistake, I need to channel it forward. And so think about like if I mess something up, think about why I was like, how can I not do that again if I get mad about it?
I'm noticing that your thinking pattern is very hindsight bias.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like instead of thinking about what just happened, I just need to like keep playing and just move on.
There's a lot of should, you know. Um, the whole point of being process oriented is to stay in the present moment.
Yeah, I guess I will. Instead of should, I should just say will. Like
Well,
I,
what I'm what I'm overall getting at is having a process oriented mindset should motivate you. The thought of challenge in Melee, it motivates me. It reframes my line of thinking,
Mm-hmm.
and it's fun for me.
Yeah.
What about for you? What would be the process oriented mindset that would motivate you, that would make it fun for you?
I guess if they do something like that's what makes it fun about like learning new ways to beat things that my opponents do, like in terms of pun like way to cover new options and stuff. But I think I need to be able to apply it to things that I'm already working on in like, okay, I missed the edge guard that time, but I'm going to get it next time. Like this is like a challenge that I need to overcome, and when I do it, I'll feel proud of myself.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's pretty similar to mine. It's just like a challenge frame.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't have to
That
be
like
that way,
that.
by the way. Like, if that's not what,
Yeah.
like,
Well, that is how I think of the game, but I think instead of I when I like learn a new way to punish something, that's that's usually when I feel satisfied from it, and not when I like can do it consistently. Because something that I like have had trouble wrapping my head around kind of is just that at my level I can improve at everything, like literally everything. And so it's not going to feel like necessarily satisfying if I'm gonna like working on my wave dashes is not going to feel like satisfying like immediately because I'm not learning something new. But later down the road, when I'm able to do it, like able to control my wave dash lengths and do like and move more fluidly, then I will feel satisfaction from that practice. And like that's kind of the challenge, just to be able to do what I just I guess it is like just to implement it. Like I get satisfaction from the discovery of something and not the implementation of it. And I think that's where my mindset needs to change.
and what do you think the next step is?
Like you said, making it more process oriented so that I can feel satisfaction at different steps rather than just being like, okay, once I do this, it's like done. Instead of like, I need to understand that it's more of like a curve than just like, all right, I like know how to do this, so I should hit it every time.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you think implementing this mindset, do you think you just do it?
I mean, I don't think it's something I can just do. I think it's something that I'm gonna need to work on.
How do you work on it?
But when I start to feel frustrated with myself, just to remember, like, think back on our conversation, and just, I think the first step is like, am I thinking clearly right now? Like, would I say that to, like the whole thing is like, would I say that to someone else?
Yeah, I think
And
step
then,
one is recognition.
yeah,
Because it's not easy to recognize these. Like, there's a reason why people don't feel like they're not logically thinking when they
hmm
get mad or something, and then they only realize it like an hour later. It's because they were just so overcame with it that they cannot think. Rather than
yeah,
yeah, it's really hard to recognize in a moment, and it will take you multiple tries to get it done.
hmm
And I think a great way of better recognizing is journaling.
hmm.
If you journal your thoughts every day, you get better at recognizing your emotions. And then therefore, it leads to better facilitation.
So should I guess I could write down, maybe I should start logging my practice just in general and like how I'm feeling about
Yeah,
Melee.
the most important part is describing your feelings about it.
hmm
So then you kind of get like a good thought pattern that you a good overall pattern of where you're recognizing all of these. So step one
Yeah,
is
I mean,
recognition.
yeah, I mean, I that's kind of what I've been doing for working out, and it's been helping me um, get better at doing that more consistently and feeling better about it. But I just never really thought to apply it to melee until
Yeah. What do you think step two might be?
now. I guess thinking of the solution.
Nope. I think it's
Oh
thinking
yeah,
it too,
deeper.
right?
Yeah,
Because you need time to clear your mind. It's really hard to think of a solution when you don't want to think of the solution.
yeah.
Because this is where the facilitation part kicks in. Do you know why I say facilitation rather than control?
Because you have to like, I don't know. I don't know.
It's because you can't control what you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It just is. Rather, facilitation is more like you're managing it. You're not shutting it down. You are alleviating, and you are doing step three. Why? Ideally, it should be the most powerful motivator,
Mm-hmm.
and you're using that to fuel you. You're facilitating because you're using your why should be so ingrained to you. It's like, why else have you been practicing? You know,
Mm-hmm.
if it's truly, if you truly think Melly's sick, then it should be like the most powerful motivator of like why you're doing this. You know,
Yeah.
what do you think of these three steps?
I think it's a good way to break it down, honestly. And like it's pretty easy to follow. I like step 4.
Yeah, profit. So let's think of it back. Let's draw it back to you are getting beaten up by Zabu or something, or Shabo, or yeah, Shabo matches out of your grab. You are literally thinking of that scenario. I want you to think back the last scenario that happened to you, and then it spiraled out of control. What then?
Um, well, normally I would like feel frustrated. Um, I should like think about how I'm feeling, recognize that I'm getting mad at myself. Uh, take a deep breath. Um, you know, think about why, like, think about why I'm like what my goal is for working on it, and then just keep playing
And what is the goal?
to get it more consistently. And I'm like, well, in terms of just like micro goals with just what like if I'm working on something, it's to get it more consistently, and I have to recognize that I'm gonna mess up along the way. And maybe think about how I can like I'll think about, okay, well, next time my goal is to not do that again, or to at least learn why it's happening.
What should you be feeling when you do that?
Motivation.
Motivation to keep trying?
Yeah. Motivation to keep trying and to get it to like to do it better. I
Is
guess
that what you
instead
think?
of
Is that what you think you would feel? Like, suppose like you find yourself in that same situation. Is that what you think you would feel?
I think if I channel my frustration into that, I could that's something realistic. Or just um I don't know, instead of feeling defeated, feel like motivated to try again
Yeah,
at
that's
least.
that's the idea. I'm just wondering if whatever you said does help you, like, accept that
Yeah.
scenario, and like,
To recognize that like I might have to make adjustments in order to to get it more consistently and just to like try to think critically about it.
Yeah.
Um,
Again, like that's what you should be feeling. Is that what you think you would feel? Like, with that.
I think I would definitely feel like in moments where I'm able to take a deep breath, like I've like kind of developed like I used to have a better mentality with this, like where I could take a deep breath and just think about like, just think of it as a challenge rather than thinking of it as something simple that I shouldn't mess up.
Hmm.
Like melee's hard.
Yeah, you're being understanding of yourself,
Yeah.
and when you're understanding of yourself, then it helps you accept situations better and move on.
Mhm.
And hopefully, it also motivates you to like finish it
Yeah.
out. Yeah. Is there anything else to talk about?
Not really. I think this has been pretty helpful.
Yeah, I think this is like a very good first step towards the right direction.
Mhm.
Any last questions?
No, not really. I think this has been incredibly helpful.
Yeah. Hopefully it helps, and maybe I'll see you
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, thank you so much.